You're listening to the Rewrite the Rules podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Harriet.
I'm Beth.
And I'm Natalie.
You want to work towards achieving true food and body image freedom, you are in the right place.
Rewrite the Rules podcast is your survival guide to letting go of harmful societal expectations and unlearning any unhelpful beliefs that are stopping you from having a healthy and loving relationship with food and yourself.
Our mission is to help you feel heard, understood, and empower you to step out of the box and rewrite your rules so you can live life on your terms. Thank you for tuning in.
Hi everyone.
Hello guys. Welcome back. Episode 17. Oh my God.
I know. I saw that today and I was like, no, I must have wrote that wrong. How are we on episode 17?
I know. How quickly have the weeks flown by though?
Yeah.
But it's because we're having so much fun. So welcome back to the Rewrite the Rules podcast. Today's episode is obviously hosted by myself and Harriet.
Hello.
Natalie is... Hello, Harriet.
Hi.
Natalie is sunning it up in Greece and we're all very jealous. I saw some pictures yesterday. She's absolutely glowing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
She's a complete goddess, if you're listening, Natalie.
She actually is. She's always been a goddess and now she's just living her goddess life. So I love that for her.
Absolutely. But we do miss her very much.
Absolutely.
But we're still bringing you a very exciting episode.
We are. And yeah, so whilst Natalie's having her Mamma Mia break, we just know that you're going to love this episode as we are going to be chatting about the food that dieting ruined for us.
Absolutely. And we have got so much to say on this episode. So it could be a quick one. We could be 50 minutes deep. We don't know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
But we're bringing the energy today.
Yeah, the energy is here. So do you think we should go one by one?
Yes, I think so. I think a lot of sort of our foods that dieting has ruined for us, I think are quite similar. I think we're going to relate to each other on a lot of these things. But yes, I will go first.
You're dying.
Digging into my...
Frothing to share.
Making my way down my long list of foods that just give me the ick now. My first one being rice cakes. And I'm kind of a little bit heartbroken over this one because this was a food that I genuinely enjoyed. And the thought of it still sounds quite yummy. But when I actually execute that and make myself some rice cakes, I just can't eat them anymore. And for me, I went through the ringer when it comes to rice cakes. I tried all of them. I tried plain, salt and vinegar, the cheesy ones, the chocolate ones, and then my heart sort of set on the caramel ones.
I'm sorry, Beth, but you just saying that you went through the ringer. Really
I did because for me, once the sort of fitness community sort of accepted a food and everyone started eating it, I was very impressionable. And I was like, if my favourite influencer is eating that, you bet I'm going to eat it too. So I'd spend a lot of money at Tesco. They were barely ever on offer. So you were forking out for these friggin' rice cakes. And I'd coat them in peanut butter, these caramel rice cakes. And I remember really enjoying them. But for me, I was only eating them really because they'd become accepted. They'd become the go-to snack. Everyone else was eating them. I wanted to join in. And the thing with me, once I decide that I like something, you bet I'm having it every single day, multiple times a day. And that's what I did. And I sort of overdid it. And I think that's the thing, you eat it so much that you slowly become sick of it. And that's sort of what happened to me in rice cakes. So yeah, I can have the little baby ones that have got a bit of chocolate melted on top and stuff like that. But my big fat ass rice cakes, I just can't have anymore.
Yeah.
What give me the ick?
Yeah, I was going to ask, how does it make you feel if you were to have rice cake?
I just wouldn't.
You just wouldn't. You just don't want them.
No.
Yeah.
I just would not. I remember the taste of them and I think that sounds so yummy, but no, I've tried it since. I mean, I tried it a couple of months back being maybe I can get back into this. This is a good quick snack to have, thinking practically, but no, it just didn't hit the same. And I was I'd just rather eat something else now, which is sad. So I broke up with rice cakes.
Oh, that is sad. You know what? I'm sorry to say, but I actually really do love rice cakes.
This is like, and I get so not triggered, but like when I see other people eating rice cakes, I just have flashbacks to like my former self and like the mindset I was in back then. Very like all or nothing, sort of erratic, constant dieting, if you know what I mean. And I think maybe I've just sort of mentally attached that label to them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like not able to get past that right now as well. But
yeah,
it's a learning curve.
Yeah, I think, you know what, it's like, I guess like my next question for you would be like, do you want to have them again? Like or do you want to just like leave them in the past?
I always want to have like handy snacks. And I
Yeah.
think for me, that's what it is. It's just like the practicality of the snack, being able to just make it quick and on the go. Like that's what I value now in my food is how quickly I can make it and how easy it is to make. So like I do miss that, but I'm not going to get past it anytime soon either.
Yeah. And then you also said about marshmallows square things.
Marshmallow
as well.
squares. Yeah. So I haven't broken up with the whole squares family. It's just the marshmallow ones. Okay. I still love the caramel ones and I still love the chocolate ones, but the marshmallow flavor, it was very much like a staple pre-workout in like the fitness community. Everyone was eating them. And it was sort of like I'd received a couple of maybe like backhanded comments off people. They obviously weren't intending to come across the way that they did. But when I was like, you know what, actually, like I'm eating these marshmallow squares bars because everyone else is eating them. I don't actually really like them myself. Like I need a bit more. They just felt a bit bland and empty to me personally. I was like, I'm literally only eating these because of the calories on them and because everyone else was accepting and like promoting, oh, these have only got X amount of calories in, these are good, like use it before your workout, stuff like that. I very much got onto that train and I was like, oh, I don't really like these, but I was like, I really like the look of the caramel ones. I'm going to have the caramel ones. And I received like a couple of messages when I'd like, because I post like all types of like food inspiration on my stories. I'll show you what I'm eating as my snacks and stuff. I received a few messages being like, oh, I love the caramel ones, but I could never fit them into my macros, or I could never fit that into my diet. And it was sort of, I felt like a tiny bit shamed when someone's like, oh, I couldn't eat that. Like, I want to eat that, but I could never eat that. And it was just a little bit like backhanded to me because then, you know, in that frame of mind that I was back then, I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't be eating this. Oh my God, this is going to be catastrophic. So I stopped eating them for so long because other people had made like little comments, not intending to be nasty, but everyone was just like, oh, we don't eat that. That was like my experience. But yeah, like fuck everyone now. I eat the caramel ones and the chocolate ones every single week. So I've rebuilt that relationship, but I just don't like the marshmallow ones now.
Yeah, you know what, but you make such a good point about how I especially see it in the fitness industry. There's almost like this hierarchy of accepted foods and foods that aren't accepted, but there's also like trends. It's like you see one person having a rice cake with peanut butter and frozen raspberries on, and suddenly you're seeing everyone have these rice cakes. And yeah, I can understand how it feels just mentally a bit icky, even if it's actually tasty. Like I said, I actually like rice cakes, but I liked rice cakes before they became trendy in the fitness world, and I still like them now. And I think maybe that's the difference. But I actually just had a flashback of someone I used to work with, because I used to bring rice cakes into work, and she used to be like, oh, I hate rice cakes. They smell, they're disgusting, they taste like cardboard, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, I like them, because my favorite was the salt and vinegar ones. And I basically found out that she went on a crazy diet where her diet was made up of rice cakes. And so that's why she really detested them at that point afterwards. And so, yeah, I think if you don't like them before, or you haven't had them before, the diet industry and fitness industry can really, make you detest these kind of foods.
Absolutely. I think it's as if like someone comes around and hits us with a dieting stick, and then we just like fall out of love with all these foods. But it's also like so validating for me to like hear that of like someone else having the same sort of experience and being like, actually, I literally can't, because that's what it feels like. It feels like I literally cannot stand this. It like gives me the ick. I'd never like push my beliefs onto other people, but having that sort of like passion, I kind of understand, because I'm like, you know, you've got to understand, I ate these day in, day out for years, and then people wonder why like I can't just like casually have them again. So thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting. But yeah, what is one of your foods that gives you the ick?
One of my foods is actually a food group, and it's actually protein. I
get this.
Yeah. So I just feel, I never really immersed myself in the fitness world, even when I was really struggling with my relationship with food and disordered eating and all of that. I never actually really got into fitness so much. I could never say that exercise was one of my biggest problems. It absolutely wasn't. But I don't know why I find the fitness community more triggering now. Not in a, it doesn't like trigger me emotionally, but it annoys me. And it's not the whole fitness industry. It's just a certain portion where, and I think it's because from my experience, like my professional experience, I see clients who go from, you know, having an issue with their food and struggling with their food to recovering. And then they kind of evolve into this like exercise obsession. And I feel like sometimes the fitness industry can give you that permission slip to keep certain behaviors that aren't helpful. So yeah, I've always been a bit like with some certain aspects of the fitness industry. And I think when you think of the fitness industry, a big thing you think of is protein. And so sometimes I get a bit weird about, you know, when you can order from restaurants and it's like, add an extra portion of protein. Even that would annoy me. I just think, oh, why can't I add an extra portion of rice? Or why can't I extra portion of pasta? Like, why isn't that an option? It's always like, you know, double up on protein. And I know some people love that because protein is great, whatever. But I just know it just made me feel a bit like, ugh. And same with having a smoothie. It's, why do I have to add protein to my smoothie? And fun fact for everyone, I was seeing a dietitian in like April-ish. I asked about protein powder because funnily enough, on my Instagram Explore page, I saw this girl drinking a banana protein shake. And I actually thought, for the first time, it actually didn't give me the ick. I thought that looked delicious. So I really wanted to buy some banana flavored protein powder. That's a different story. But from there, that led me to ask my dietitian, like, what do you think of protein powder in smoothies? And she was like, to be honest, protein powder is really expensive and you just don't need to have it to have a protein fueled smoothie. There's so much other things that you can add to your smoothie that can, you know, increase the protein, like yogurt. I always have yogurt in my smoothie because I like the taste of it and the texture, and yogurt has good protein amounts anyway. So I guess the reason I got onto that was because I think anything that's like adding protein, I just kind of just gives me the ick, and it's a bit like, oh, and is it necessary, I guess?
Yeah, sense. Completely. And I think the one thing that for me, I think, is it adding to your food experience. Like if adding a scoop of protein powder is going to make your smoothie taste better, then we'd be like, do it. But there's so many times I was adding protein to things and it tasted like crap after, and I was just eating it because it was high protein. That is not a positive experience. That is what we want you to get away from. And it's also like brands using high protein as a selling point when, you know, and then you can turn over the label and actually be like, there isn't actually that much protein in it. You are just whacking an extra, you know, 30 to 60% extra cost onto this, whatever product it is, just because you're saying it's high protein. And it's just, it's crap. It is. And it's just it's in all foods as well. Like things like protein pasta and protein noodles and things like that. Like I tried it all, not for the taste, because I was told you need to eat high protein every second of the day.
Yeah, and that really echoes basically what my dietitian said in terms of things are labeled as high protein and a protein add-on, but actually the foods that you're already eating probably have enough protein. You know, in your smoothie, with the milk and the yogurt, you're probably having an adequate amount of protein anyway. You don't need to spend £40 or whatever, because some of these protein powders are really expensive, so you don't need to. And I guess, so if anyone's dying to hear, I did end up buying the banana flavored protein powder, and it's actually really nice. But I actually did experience a part of me when I didn't fancy having a banana flavored smoothie, thinking, oh, now I'm having, I guess, a lesser smoothie. And I was able to step out of that really quickly. But I think that's the danger, is you focus so much on, oh my God, I need to add protein. So when you just have like a quote unquote normal balanced meal, it can feel like you're not having, you're missing out, you're not having enough, or something bad will happen, your body will change. And so it can easily just turn very unhealthy. And I think something else I want to note about this as well is, if you're like a bodybuilder, is that what they're called? Bodybuilders?
Yeah.
And there's a certain, you need to have a significant amount of protein. Fine. But I'm seeing just like quote unquote normal girls trying to have as much protein as a bodybuilder. And it's like, do you need that amount?
Absolutely. And I think, especially for me, when I was doing this, I was also like, so I was like focusing on this high protein, I wanted protein bagels. I would like every inch of my sort of daily eating schedule was thinking about how can I put more protein into every single snack and meal. But whilst I was doing this, I was also like binging and restricting at the same time. So I was never making any gains in the gym anyway. I did not need that protein because I was under fueling and then binging when it came to the weekend anyway. So it did not make any sense for me to be trying to consume that much protein in the hopes of getting, what did I want back then? Like massive booty gains and things like that. Like I was only doing it because everyone else was doing it. Yeah. And it costs so much as well. As a whole, picking the protein option, picking the protein bagels instead of the normal bagels, picking the protein pasta instead of the normal pasta, it friggin' adds up.
Yeah. I used to buy protein oatmeal pots. I used to have them at my desk at work, and I'm not gonna lie, they just made me feel so stodgy afterwards. They were so rich and just, I can't even think of the word, just, and I had to stop eating them. I actually had to stop eating them because I was like, this isn't conducive to anything that I want.
Absolutely. And I think it's also exactly what you said with the smoothie. That's how I felt about oats. And I was like, I'm not allowed to eat oats unless I add protein or buy like a protein pot. So that relationship I've had to rebuild and be like, I'm just allowed to eat porridge. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be any added anything. I'm just allowed to eat it as it is, and that's okay. And I'm not, failing or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had to do like both journeys in terms of, I go back to the banana protein powder. Sorry, I keep talking about that, but it's a really big part of my journey apparently. But I had to really convince myself to buy it, because at first, this is basically how my thought process went. I went, oh, that looks like a nice, really yummy, I'm really craving like a banana milkshake. Oh no, but I can't. No, I'm not getting into that. I'm not going to buy protein powder because that's toxic and that's icky, and nope, not about that. To be like, Harriet, if you want the protein powder, just buy the protein powder. Stop demonizing the protein powder. So then getting the protein powder, really enjoying it. But then one day when I realized I don't really want a banana smoothie, I want just a strawberry smoothie, and be like, Harriet, it's okay to not have the protein powder. It's a process, and it's a journey. And so I'm honestly with protein, I'm working on both sides, more so the side of allowing myself just to have the extra scoop of protein if it's available, just because that's what I want, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely like the path that I'm on as well. And that I think whenever I add protein to a meal now, it's literally only through a scoop of like whey or something. I've completely broken up with things like, I mean, what did I used to eat? Protein cookies, protein brownies, you know, protein crisps, protein yogurts. And I just buy Greek yogurt now instead of spending, like, I would spend so much money buying protein yogurts. Just protein everything. I'm sure I even bought like protein milk at one point to like, and it must have just had extra. If it said protein on it, I bought it basically. Like, even when they turned, like, the first time I decided to like question myself and was like, no, we're not giving into this, was when Mars Bar brought out their like higher protein version of chocolate. And I was like, no, I see exactly what you're going to do. I was like, I don't even really like Mars bars. I love Mars bar ice cream. I don't really care about Mars bars in general. I was like, and I could feel myself getting enticed and like being like, oh, I want to pick that up. I want to put that in my basket. And then I was like, no, because I'm not going to enjoy this. It's not going to taste any better than an actual Mars bar. And you don't even like them in the first place. And that was like the first moment when I was actually like, no, I don't need that in my life.
Look, protein's important, and like protein in terms of when you actually understand why we need protein, it's good because it keeps you full and it's good for muscle repair, blah, blah, blah. But I guess our point is you don't need to have an overload of it.
Yeah, like if you don't need to be eating 3 protein bars a day.
No, your Greek yogurt, your normal Tesco's Greek yogurt has a sufficient amount of protein in it. You don't need to spend extra to get something that has a label extra protein or whatever these days it says. Same with the smoothie. You can have just your normal smoothie without the scoop of protein, and it's got enough protein in it.
Absolutely. And I think it's just important, you need to like check yourself, don't you, whenever you're making any sort of choice, but like, why am I buying this? Why am I eating this? 100%. If you're eating it because it genuinely tastes delicious, then fair play, carry on.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I don't really like the taste,
it got
of
to
this,
the point
where I was trying to eat protein bars and I could only manage like 2/3, and then I was like, oh, I'm done now. And then I try it again and I could only manage half.
Yeah.
And then I try and eat them again and I'd manage a bite, and then I'm like, I'm done. And that was sort of my, I think, like satiety signals like kicking in and be like, we don't want any more of this. So I literally haven't. So I think the only sort of, for me, like the only time I ever add protein into my diet, like actively, is protein shakes, because I can say that I really enjoy them. But then exactly what you said, I love strawberry protein shakes, but I bought like kiwi and like mango and I think like kale or something the other day, and just made a smoothie out of that. And I was like, oh, I can't put a scoop of protein in it, but I was just like, I'm going to have it anyway because it's a really nice smoothie.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, it's about being able to just enjoy all forms of food just because you enjoy it.
Definitely. You're allowed to kind of strike that balance. Like, you know, that trend on TikTok and probably Instagram with the protein Weetabix cheesecake.
My initial thought was, that's just going to taste like Weetabix.
I've never tried it. It does look quite nice. It does look quite nice. I don't know if you thought the same. I thought, oh, yeah, Weetabix Greek yogurt looks fine.
It gave me the ick straight away, I won't lie.
Well, it gave me the ick, but it also, I was like, I kind of understand this trend. If you want to jump in that trend and try this Weetabix cheesecake, go ahead. But you're also allowed to have a real cheesecake, because Weetabix cheesecake is not real cheesecake. Sorry, it's just not. And I guess that's the danger, is that once you've opened your mind to having something that's quote unquote healthy, is arguably not healthier in some ways. But once you open your mind to like, oh, this is like the better version, what automatically happens then is that you demonize the other version, the real version. And yeah, like if you find yourself going through that process with that kind of example, just remember that the quote unquote healthy better version does not make the real version any worse. You're absolutely allowed to have the real version of anything, and actually I'd encourage it as part of a healthy diet.
Absolutely. And as you were saying that, I instantly thought about the, you know, like the tortilla wrap pizzas, and people were using a wrap as a pizza instead of the real pizza. And don't get me wrong, Like, it's a nice wrap to have. But when I was trying it, I was doing it because I so desperately wanted a real pizza.
Yeah.
And I was just like, right, this will do. And for me, it didn't just do. And I'd eat that, and then all I'd be thinking about was the real pizza. Having that much fun with food is really good. Being creative, like, I absolutely love that. And if it's going to be fun for you to make that cheesecake and it's going to be delicious, then happy days. But if you're then sat there thinking about the real cheesecake and wanting the real cheesecake, then I think you've got to make some hard decisions. Because, like, I love, you know, the I'm going to say this wrong, but you know, the GU Pud cheesecakes.
Oh yeah.
And they come in little glass.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. They are phenomenal. But I didn't have them for ages because I was just like, oh, I can't have that. Like, it's not allowed, blah, blah, blah. And then the second I introduced it into my life, I stopped fantasizing about it.
Yeah.
Because then I just ate it and moved on.
Exactly. The more you restrict, the more you fantasize. So stop fantasizing, make it reality, have the cheesecake, have the goo pots.
I love that.
The goo. I don't know.
I don't know how to say it, and I always say GU because I have no idea. But it's like, if you want the cheesecake, have the cheesecake. If you want the pizza, have the pizza. If you love pizza wraps, then carry on, have your pizza wraps and stuff, because I think it's a lot of fun to make, and it's a nice light sort of snack for me to have. But if it's a Saturday night and you want the pizza, you've got to have the pizza.
You go, girl. Absolutely. And I think this the really, really final thing to say on the cheesecake is that I remember seeing a lot of the comments on these like trends where, like, do I have to add protein in? And I think this is the problem, is that people don't understand, and it gets confusing because it's like, actually you could have that Weetabix yogurt trend without adding any protein at all. But I think people just feel so much pressure and confusion whether, should I add it in? Am I missing an ingredient? Because protein powder is just an added
supplement at the end of the day.
It's a supplement. Yeah.
I used to buy protein Weetabix as well.
Yeah, my boyfriend does.
Yeah, they've got, like, what I remember, they've got like little balls on them, and it just, the whole time I was uncomfortable and I didn't enjoy it. And it's just, we've got such a list of foods.
Sorry for interrupting the episode, but we just want to give a very quick shout out to our sponsors, us.
If you're loving this episode and the podcast so far and want to support this podcast further, then head to the link in the show notes and show your appreciation by donating us a coffee. We'd massively appreciate it.
There are also other ways to support us for free, like dropping us a rating and review on whatever platform you're currently listening to us on. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please like and subscribe.
And you can, of course, follow us on Instagram. It's at Rewrite the Rules Pod, and share our podcast with anyone that you think will love it.
We do all offer our own coaching and therapy packages if you would like to work with any of us. All links to those and more info are all once again in the show notes.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
The next one, actually, because we've mentioned wraps, is like wholemeal wraps and wholemeal bread. And I never liked wholemeal. I never liked it as a kid. I was like, white bread, cut the crusts off for me. That was me. And then white bread, I come into the fitness community and white bread was like really demonized. And I was like, no one's eating white bread. No one was eating like white wraps or anything. No one was eating like normal pasta either. So I was either having to buy like the protein versions of these things, like protein bread or protein pasta, or buying like the wholemeal version. And both times I was absolutely miserable. And I hated it. It's so sad. I hated it so much. And now I've got past that, and I'm just like, I'm going to eat whatever pasta I want to eat. I'm going to eat whatever bread I want to eat. I'm going to eat whatever bagels I want to eat. And I'm just living my best life, I will say. But now I just look at anything wholemeal, and I know this is so silly, but I'm just like, ugh.
That's how I feel about protein.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. Okay.
Yeah. I think it just, I think sometimes if you try and force something upon someone, it's not going to end well.
Literally. Yeah, wholemeal stuff. I personally just like the mix. Like, I don't like super white bread, but I also don't like super wholemeal bread. I like in the middle. Just kind of go with what I actually like. Sometimes I really feel like a nice wholemeal pasta, especially if I've got a busy day, because, you know, I sometimes having like white pasta can really make me crash. But then I do love white pasta. And so sometimes at the weekend, I just have good old white pasta and I crash and it feels great.
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, it was like, as soon as I realised I couldn't have white bread, all I wanted was white bread. So when I got my hands on white bread, instead of having 2 slices like everyone else, I'd want to eat the whole loaf. And we'd just have like buttered toast. We'd have cheese on toast. I have chocolate spread on toast. And now, if you ask me how much white bread I eat right now, I don't even buy loaves of white bread anymore. Like, because it would only go to waste. We only eat a couple of slices and that's it. But it's like, as soon as you are told you cannot have something, you want it. And the more you start saying yes to things and be like, I can just have what I want, you actually stop wanting it.
I absolutely found that when I kind of went quote unquote all in and just allowed myself to have what I wanted, I almost like stopped having cravings altogether. It was so weird. Yeah. All the things.
Stop thinking about food.
I just stopped thinking about food. And it was actually kind of weird because I found like a lot of people think this, you spend so much time thinking about food. You know, people will report quote unquote thinking about food 24/7. And so when you do this one very simple thing to stop thinking about food, it's almost like you have this gap in your life.
Yeah,
and it feels
absolutely.
It does feel strange, but it's a good strange. It's different, but it's a good different, because I mean, thinking about food 24/7 wasn't really getting me anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and there's so much more that goes on in your brain, and it's just amazing to like live through that. But also, us mentioning things like pasta and things like bread, I also want to talk about rice. So I went through many stages with rice, but I'm going to keep it condensed. White rice was like heavily demonized. And if you were going to have white rice, then you better make sure that you have the exact portion on the back of the labels. If you're having any more than a portion, that was bad. But then also, secondly, you should make an effort to buy lower calorie versions of rice. So I stood there in the supermarket in front of like the Tilda and the Uncle Ben's rice, and I'd be looking at the back of the packets on every single rice. So I got hooked on egg fried rice, like the Tilda egg fried rice, not because I enjoyed it, just because it was higher in protein, because there was egg in it, and there was less calories because there wasn't as much rice in it, because the egg had replaced the rice. So that was like my phase 1, okay? And I just ate it with everything, and I was having to like cover it in like the low sugar ketchup because I didn't enjoy it. So I was like, we're going to cover this in ketchup just so I can eat it. Phase 2 was cauliflower rice. You know, I know so many girls that actually really like cauliflower rice and still include this in like their day of eating. But for me, it was just a painful experience. I remember paying so much for it, bringing it home and being like, oh my God, I'm going to make so many meals of this. This is going to be delicious. I was like, I love cauliflower. This is going to be the exact same thing. And it was not. And I've got pictures of like, I've still got pictures on my phone of like meals that I used to eat. And they all look so sad and so lifeless and so empty. And obviously a lot of it is I didn't cook it probably in the way it was meant to be cooked, like with spices and with loads of wonderful things added in. I just treated it like rice. So I was like, right, cauliflower rice, vegetables, protein, done, that's my tea. So you can imagine how sad that looked and how sad it was to eat as well.
I mean, whenever I used to have cauliflower rice, I was just so hungry afterwards and are you surprised? Because you're removing something that is the substance of a meal.
Yeah, literally.
I used to make courgettes, spaghetti made out of courgettes.
I love that. That's like, I remember seeing the videos and thinking that looks amazing, but I don't have the effort. So the fact that you did it.
Oh yeah, I bought a spiralizer.
Harriet. Thinking this is going to be the next best thing.
Honestly, my life is so exciting. But you know what I would say is the same thing with the cauliflower rice. If you're having courgette instead of spaghetti and that's your main meal, you're going to be hungry afterwards. And if you struggle with, let's say, binging, this is going to not help you on your journey to stop binging, essentially. But I actually did quite like what I liked doing, and if I could be bothered, I would do it now, but I can't be bothered. But mixing courgette with real spaghetti is actually really nice, but I just can't be bothered to do that. And I think it's not nice enough that I'm gonna, get my spiralizer out and spiralize the courgette. But I guess again, it's that balance. It's like, if you like it, fine. If it keeps you full, fine. Courgette and cauliflower rice on their own won't keep you full, but if you add it with something and it does, cool. But again, you just need to check yourself. Do you actually like this, or what's your goal? What are you trying to achieve here?
And what's the result of it as well? If you're eating this and then, you end up binging, then this is like a factor you maybe need to look at, and switching this out to something that's going to be more beneficial.
100%. And it's just about balance, Again, I can't be bothered to get my spiralizer out. But if I did, I would happily have that mix between spaghetti and courgette. But also sometimes I love noodles, super noodles, literally the packet, the 40p super noodles, delish. And I will have that and enjoy it. Sometimes I have just wholemeal pasta by itself. Sometimes I just have white pasta. It's honestly just whatever I feel like, whatever I think my day is going to look like. I literally ask myself, what is my goal, or what do I want to achieve from this? And do I actually think that that goal will be met? Would it make me feel good? Kind of considering all the factors. And that's like an automated process for me now. I don't like sit down and like map my food decisions out. But if you are at the beginning of your journey and you're trying to improve your relationship with food, that is a good place to start, to just make sure that you're doing things with the best intentions.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So what's your next food that was destroyed for you?
So I've put bananas, but I have in brackets, I put just a little bit destroyed, because I still have bananas now, but it is that flashback of I used to never allow myself to have bananas. I remember thinking bananas are disgusting because they are so, I don't think it's like they're high calorie, they're high carb, aren't they? Well, they're not even high, they're moderate carb, moderate level carb. And I used to think, no, if I'm going to have fruit, I'm going to have berries. I used to just demonize them. And now I have a banana nearly every day because I have it in my smoothies, because it's just amazing for texture. If you add a frozen banana into your smoothies, it makes the texture just phenomenal. It's also just so quick. They're cheap. I'm normally in the morning, if I do go to like the gym or do work out at all, which isn't every day, but if I do, I'm normally in a rush, and just being able to grab a banana and just have it literally as I'm like in the lift going down my apartment, then I'm here. I like what you said. If it tastes good, it feels good, it's easy, I'm here for it. So I say a little bit because I still have it pretty much every day, but I just have that flashback.
I get that. To be fair, like I can't eat them unless they're mixed in with something. I don't like them by themselves, and I think it's a texture thing. I get halfway through it and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. So like I buy bananas literally just to put them in smoothies, or just to like, I've got like a really delicious pancake recipe that I love to make, and they get like nice and thick and fluffy. So like I love to put them in that, but like by themselves, like, and I think it's for me, it was, oh, you need to eat loads of fruit. And I'm not really passionate about fruit. Apples are like the only thing I will eat straight up. Everything else I have to put in like a smoothie form because I'm a very picky eater. So when everyone was like, oh, you need to eat more fruit, I was almost trying to force myself to eat bananas, which then made my relationship with them worse. So I was just like, okay, we're not going to eat bananas anymore. So I can't really eat it straight up without feeling a bit gross.
straight from the skin.
It's just
the pill.
But I'm like such a picky eater, and like, to be fair, I mostly buy bananas to mash them for Lola because she likes frozen bananas.
Oh my gosh. So, you wouldn't be a good monkey, Beth.
No, I wouldn't. I'd die straight away. Just starve.
You just starve.
I would literally. Well, I'm such a picky eater. And I think that's definitely contributed to like my all or nothing mentality towards food. Once I find something I like, I just go all in, have it every day, and then can't eat it again.
I do that too,
But, yeah.
though, you know, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's like I've done that since I was little. I'd have phases and I get sick of it and then I just move on and grieve a little bit of the food that you used to love and now you just don't. But
yeah, no, I feel that. But like the next food that was sort of ruined for me wasn't ruined because I was using it as like a restrictive tool. It was ruined because I kept binging on it. So yeah, I've got so many foods, to be fair, but the first one I'm going to talk about, because it was like my main staple food for a very, very long time, was pancakes. And they were like the very thin, like sweet, pre-made ones that you could buy in like a pack of 8 from like the bakery section. I'd buy them every Saturday morning. I'd come home and I would just start heating them up and eating them one by one before anyone was even awake. I would just start on them, and that was a staple for months and months and months and months, because like I was doing this, like I was in this binge and restrict pattern for years. So I was eating pancakes for months and months and months on end, and it just became such like an almost painful experience. Like I was picking it up off the shelf, and I knew I didn't want to pick it up, and I knew that, you know, because how my supermarket is like laid out, you have like your fruit and veg first, like your meats and dairy and everything. So I'd be doing like well up until that point to not buy a binge food, and then I would get to the bakery section, and that was what was going to determine whether I binged today or whether I didn't. So it was almost like, you know, the second I picked them up, I knew what my day was going to look like, and it was just horrible. The second I put it in my basket, I was just like, okay, as soon as we get home, we're doing this. And then because I decided, okay, we're having a binge, then I'd get to the crisp section, the chocolate section, and I'd just be filling it because I knew what was going to happen. And then I'd get home, start eating it, and I got to the point where I didn't even want to eat them. So luckily the pandemic happened, and I started taking Adam shopping with me, or we were getting like a food truck delivered. So I had more, I'm trying to think of the word, I had more of a backbone, if you know what I mean. I felt stronger to walk in and be like, no, I'm not doing this today. I don't enjoy them. We know what this is going to result in. So having Adam with me, or, you know, being able to make a conscious decision from my kitchen, like what I was going to buy today instead of being there, it helped me stop buying them. So, you know, I can still sometimes have pancakes and stuff, but I can't go and buy that 8-pack from the bakery section anymore. And it was just really like ruined for me.
Yeah. So, yeah, because would you say mainly because there's bad memories attached to it? Yeah.
And it's like, I think if they repackaged it and made it look different, I think I'd pick it up. It looks exactly the same as how it did when I used to binge on it, and I just can't.
Yeah. I sometimes get the same with that with McDonald's. Cause I used to always binge on McDonald's, and so now I'm just a bit like, again, it looks the same packaging, you know,
same smell,
everything, and it just doesn't taste as good now. Do you find that?
Yeah, I found that especially with golden nuggets, which was another food that I used to just heavily binge on. Now I try and keep all sorts of cereal in my cupboard because I friggin' love cereal. It's such a quick, easy food idea and so enjoyable. And the past couple of times I've tried to eat them just like casually, they just don't taste the same. Everything feels off.
Yeah.
It just doesn't taste as good.
This doesn't taste as good because, again, like when you restrict yourself from something, you fantasize about it. So fantasies normally embellish thoughts and dreams and whatever. So for that first bite, normally the first few minutes or seconds for binge actually is like, wow, oh my god, it's amazing. Hit the spot, and then it obviously goes like downhill from there. And I think now, because I don't have those fantasies about food anymore, not really, unless I'm like really hungry, which again sometimes happens, but I not really, because I make sure I eat throughout the day, so I rarely get those moments where I'm like, I'm so hungry and fantasizing about food. But yeah, I think it's kind of neutral for me. I've got a very neutral relationship with food, I would say.
Absolutely. And do you find that sometimes you're just like, I don't even know what I fancy? Like I'm not thinking about a single thing.
Yeah, I I now really, the only time I kind of like really like get really excited is for when I am having food that I just wouldn't be able to have every day. So really high quality sushi, or you know, Italian food made in Italy. Oh yes.
Oh god, yeah.
You know, fantasized by like that stuff that's just like not your day to day. But yeah, like my day to day, I just have a very neutral relationship with food, and it allows me to get a lot more done.
God, yeah, absolutely. Especially like working from home, like we do. I couldn't imagine me 3 years ago being able to do this, because I'd probably start binging at breakfast and I'd be in the kitchen all day.
Yeah.
You know, so I do feel that. But yeah, what else for
so
you?
My next one is lattes, cafe lattes, flat whites.
Hit me where it hurts.
Yeah. Cappuccinos, like, and it was when I heard from somewhere that, you know, a really good way to shorten or cut your calories is to have just a black coffee to cut out the milk, whatever. I went straight to black coffee. And the thing is, the interesting thing now is I love black coffee. Like, genuinely, I love black coffee. And now I can't have lattes. And I just don't want them. I just don't want them anymore. And I've tried to have lattes and cappuccinos, and every now and then I do, but I just don't want them even now. And it's not a disordered eating thought. It's not a restrictive thing. Whenever I have a cappuccino or a latte, for me, it feels like I'm drinking a milkshake, because the texture difference from a black coffee and Americano to a latte is actually quite significant. Black coffees feel very, very thin and smooth, whereas lattes feel a bit more like thick, and because it's thicker. And yeah, so now I just can't have them. And I remember something that my dietitian said to me was, try and have more lattes and cappuccinos in your day because of the calcium. And I had to go, like, I need another option for calcium, because I just don't want this. And I just think that's so weird how I could go from fucking loving lattes. Honestly, latte queen over here, thrifty latte queen, to can't touch them.
I do feel that on some level. The reason I started drinking lattes was because we've only got a Costa around here. I think they've just opened a Starbucks not far, but we only ever had Costa. And that was like the way that us girls like to socialise with each other, was just like pop for a quick coffee. And I used to have like are they called Frostinos? Like loads of caramel, everything, give me the flake topping. That is what I used to go to and have. And then I sort of like joined like the dieting community, and then they were like, you can't have them, like that's half of your calorie intake gone in a shake, like there's too much sugar, you can't drink that, you need to get onto cappuccinos. And I tried a cappuccino, I was like, I don't like this at all. And then my friend was like, why don't you try a latte? I tried a latte, and I don't think I've shared this before, but up until the age of about 17, I met Adam at 16. So I think up until the age of about 17, I only drank milk. I didn't drink water at all. From a kid, it's cost my mum a fortune, bless her. That's the only thing I would drink. I didn't eat juices. I didn't drink juices. I didn't drink pop. I didn't drink shakes. I didn't drink anything other than milk. I used to go to, like, when we'd go to Costa or like a coffee shop as a family, they'd have to get me a warm milk. The same with like when I used to go to school, kids at school, I remember this, everyone else would be buying like their juices and I would have the carton of milk. So up until I met Adam, and he was like, I think you need to start drinking water. And I started to, like, through the form of squash, because I just couldn't cope with water. Now I love water.
Yeah.
But it was very easy for me to start drinking lattes because I loved milk so much. And once I've got onto them, I can't get off now. I love them. But I understand your train of thought there completely.
Yeah, it's so funny because your experience of only drinking milk, I was a nightmare for my parents because I would only drink Diet Coke or Pepsi Max.
For your old Harriet.
Okay, maybe not when I was like that young, but when I was, like from 8 to literally 18, maybe a bit older than 8, but my later childhood and adolescence and early adulthood, I only drank Diet Coke and Pepsi Max. Honestly, for breakfast, I would have a glass of Diet Coke. And I remember I was definitely 18 at this point, because this is when I went to Sri Lanka. But someone who I met, I told her that I don't drink water. And I told her that I just drink Diet Coke. And she was like, you literally must have Diet Coke in your blood. And I remember at that time, it was so hot, and I think I had to drink water because I couldn't get a Diet Coke. Poor me. So I had to have water, and I just thought it was really like bland. But now, would you believe it if I say I pretty much only drink water? The 3 drinks that I have is water, sparkling water, but water, black coffee, and red wine. That's all I drink. Honestly.
I love it. The third one was red wine. I love that.
Every now and then I might have a cocktail, an orange juice, a squash, whatever. But they are my 3 staples. And this is coming from the girl who had Diet Coke in her blood. Not literally, but
I love Pepsi Max though. You open my fridge, there's so much Pepsi Max in there. All of my friends, I've got all my friends onto it. That's all we drink is Pepsi Max.
So good.
So I feel like mine's probably like water, Pepsi Max, and I love Monster. I'm a goth queen. I don't care. I love it. But even Monster, the only reason I started drinking white Monster is because I saw my favourite influencer called Whitney Simmons. And to be fair, I still love her to this day. She is, if there's anyone you want to be influenced by, it would be that queen, because she's just, she's like balanced in every aspect, and I love her to pieces. But I saw her drinking white Monster one day, and I thought, I'm going to try that. And I never looked back, and now I absolutely love it. But I think I just drink it for the taste and not for any other energy benefit. I could have a can of Monster and get asleep now. But see, it's just, you've got to focus on taste.
Exactly. See, if you like it, then it's okay. Even if it's a quote unquote diet food or fitness food, you don't have to come. Once you've healed your relationship with food, it's not like you have to ban those old foods from your diet. If you genuinely just like them, it's cool, it's okay. So yeah, that's why I
think you just got to reassess, haven't you? Like, we've had to reassess so many different foods, and like for me, like whenever I see anything that's got a massive less than 100 calories label stamped on it, I have to check myself. And be like, because I love buying little snacks for the drawer. Like, I've got a snack drawer. I love keeping it filled, because me and Adam just love, to have little snacks like on the go. But I have to check myself and be like, if that didn't say that, or if that wasn't on offer right now, would I actually reach for it? Would I actually buy it? And it's really changed my shopping experience. And I do not buy half as many snacks now, because I just ask myself that little question of, if it didn't look as appealing, would you actually buy it?
So true.
No, half the time. But also, I just want to finish on one Halo Top ice cream.
Yes, the infamous Halo Top ice cream.
So I'd convinced myself I loved it. I literally genuinely thought when I was eating it, I really enjoyed it. And unless they've like changed the formula or something, but I tried it again a couple of months back, and it just tasted so vile. And it was the texture for me as well that I couldn't cope with. It just felt like it was scraping on my tongue and like sticking to my tongue. It was just horrible. But the second vile thing about it was how it reacted with my stomach. It would leave me like solidly bloated, because obviously I was like, I can't have normal ice cream, I can't have what I want, but I can eat a whole tub of this Halo Top ice cream. And I would eat the whole tub, and how I felt after was absolutely vile. And I just thought it was me, so I never told anyone. I didn't say anything until I saw more people like posting on the stories being like, actually, I'm not going to eat that anymore, because it's like making my stomach feel like horrible. And then I was like, oh my God, me too.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Because I've some of these really low calorie foods, I've also given me horrendous stomach issues. Like 0 calorie noodles, don't do it.
Tried it once and I didn't manage more than a mouthful because I just didn't like the texture.
I've had them twice, 2 different occasions. Both times I was up in the middle of the night throwing up. So
Jesus.
yeah, but yeah, the Halo top, so interesting because I think there's so many people here will have had a £6 pint of Halo top or however much they cost. Ridiculous.
Yeah, literally, it's over £5 now. And sometimes I feel such a fool though, because sometimes I would pay that £5. Like if it wasn't an offer, sometimes I would, and I've just thrown so much money down the drain on foods like that, high protein foods and things like that. And I wish I could go back and find my younger self and just shake her violently.
Yeah, take her money off her.
Yeah, you're not having this card anymore.
Honestly.
But yeah.
But
I feel like we could go on with this list though, but it's just, about reassessing just why you're eating these things. Firstly, you've just got to ask yourself that question. Do you enjoy it? Does it taste nice? How is it making you feel physically after you've eaten it as well? Like if you're being left painfully bloated or ridiculously hungry, then
absolutely. It is exactly that. It's like we're not going to sit here and say you have to now reintroduce this food into your diet. It's like if you genuinely just don't like it anymore, gives you the ick, then you're allowed to be pissed off about it, but you don't have to force it back in, unless it's a whole food group. Then
we don't want you like leaving yourself deficient in any way.
Yeah, but if it's a specific product, and you don't want it back, that's okay. If you do want it back, there are ways that you can get it back in terms of reminding yourself of why you like that food in the first place, and just like giving yourself permission to have it. You can ignore, to an extent, you can ignore some of the negative feelings that are associated with that food from the past. Well, I have the bananas. I just ignore it. I just have it and I ignore that like mini flashback. It doesn't really affect my day. Obviously, if it feels all consuming, then that's a whole different thing. But if it's just like a little ick, then just it's okay. Just ignore it. Like just try and like push it to the side and enjoy that food.
Yes, 100%. I love that. And just don't put pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing. The more you try and push yourself to eat something or push yourself to like something, the more your brain's going to push back. Like, every time we've tried to force myself to eat the bananas, force myself to eat the rice cakes, force myself to eat the cauliflower rice. Yeah. Like you end up pushing back and just not enjoying it at all. So yeah, just always listen to your body, listen to your mind. Just because someone else is eating it and it's the new thing to be eaten, it doesn't mean you've got to follow.
Definitely.
As well. Like, don't feel pressure. Just because it's your favourite influencer or whatever, doesn't mean that you're going to enjoy it. We're all different.
Definitely. And if you're struggling, I would say like in terms of, a diet food versus a real food, like with the Weetabix cheesecake situation, just allow yourself to have both. That's a really good technique. Just allow yourself to have both. One day have the protein, whatever thing, the yogurt thing, and then the next time actually have a real cheesecake and just have that balance. It doesn't need to be all or nothing.
You mentioned like the cheesecake Weetabix thing. Like in my head, like that looks beautiful, but I'm like, actually, I'm not really like crazy about Weetabix.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd be crazy about Weetabix with Greek yogurt. And so like just try and like dissect it. When you see anything, just think, how is this being advertised to me? What are they promising? And actually just try and like dissect the meal in question and be like, actually, do you like any of those ingredients? If you love Weetabix, you love Greek yogurt, then that sounds like a perfect meal or snack for you. Whereas sometimes you just have to step back and be like, actually, I don't really like that food in the first place.
Well, I love this episode. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. I loved it. I feel like so many people are going to probably relate to a lot of these foods, especially, if you were in the sort of gym fitness community too. Hopefully we'll make you feel a bit more validated and confident in your own food choices.
100%. And if anything, just know that it's all about your preferences, what you like, what adds to your life. You don't have to follow the trend train if it doesn't make you feel good.
I love that. That's the takeaway from this episode.
Yeah.
But
Feels good.
Absolutely. We hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. We did. We enjoyed filming it too.
100%.
And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.